Good evening. It's Dudley Conservation Commission for November 19th at 6:30. Would the members please state their names for the meeting?
I'm Nancy Vukovic.
Samantha Costello.
George Slingo.
Fran Mikulajczyk.
Frank Hideki.
Okay. First thing on the agenda is 6 Klondike Road. Mary Pericino, notice of intent for a septic system upgrade. This is a continuation of the public hearing.
Right. Mark Farrell, Green Hill Engineering. At the last meeting, we were just waiting approval from the town Board of Health agent, and they approved it over this past week. So basically what the project is there's 2 camps right next to each other on the pond, and they're going to put a pump chamber below the camp and pump across the street to a leach field that's well over 100 feet from the lake. So the only work that really is in the buffer zone would be the installation of the pump chamber and then the line going up the hill to cross over the road.
Okay. Our consultant recommends that standard order conditions with the added conditions that a written approval issued by the Board of Health be added and entered into the file prior to commencement of work. Please have the applicant contact me within 7 days prior to commencement of work. Are there any abutters? Hearing none, I'll close the hearing at 6:34. Someone want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we issue a standard order of conditions with the provided that the written approval issued by the Board of Health be added and entered into the file prior to the commencement of the work for 6 Klondike Road, Mary Pericino.
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, second on the hearing is 2 Klondike Road. Susan Etheridge, notice of intent for a septic system upgrade. And this is a continuation of a public hearing. And
Basically, I'm Mark Farrell again. It's basically the same project. They're family members who live next door, and they're both going to be upgrading their septic. They're going to do the same thing as install a pump chamber down by the camp and then pump up and across the road to the leach field to a parcel they own across the street. So again, the only work in the buffer zone would be the installation of the pump chamber and the line going up to the road.
okay, are there any abutters on this? Any questions from the board? Our consultant has basically gave the same, his comments are the same as the previous one. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:35.
I make a motion that we grant a standard order of conditions, provided that the written approval issued by the Board of Health be added and entered into the file prior to the commencement of the work for 2 Klondike Road, Susan Etheridge.
Second. Motion's been made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, next on the agenda is 10 Town Farm Road, Ronald and Rhonda Zimbowski. Is that okay? I didn't murder it?
Zimbowski.
Good evening, I'm Rick Barrow from Barrow Land Surveying for the sewer system. This is a repair of an existing system. It's from a...
You want to open the public hearing first?
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll open a public hearing at 7:37. 6:37.
Okay. The sewer system is down in the buffer zone, and the house is up above it, quite a distance away. Comes down the hill, and the system is a replacement, basically almost in place of the existing system. We have the erosion control. We do have a temporary access road coming in from a town farm road to access during the construction. That will be with the stone entrance pad that will be removed once the work is done. It's going through it's aimed at going through an existing barway to the stone wall, so there'll be no minimal disturbance.
Okay. Are there any abutters? Are there any questions from the board? Our wetland consultant has, his recommendation is a standard order conditions with the added conditions that the written approval issued by the Board of Health be added and entered into the file prior to commencement of work. Please have the applicant contact me within 7 days prior to commencement of work.
We have the approved plan on file
And we have, okay.
from Board of Health.
All right. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll close the meeting at 6:38. Someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we grant a standard order of conditions, provided that the written approval issued by the Board of Health be added and entered into the file prior to the commencement of the work, which I understand is already, the file's already there, for 10 Town Farm Road, Ronald and Rhonda Jambowski.
Second.
An order's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
He's here for the next one, too.
Oh. Okay, next on the agenda is 95C Mason Road, notice of intent for a set prep for a single-family dwelling.
Open the public hearing.
We'll open a public hearing at 6:40.
Okay, my name is Rick Parra. I'm representing Corey Brody, who's the applicant and the purchaser of the lot. The transaction has not gone through yet, so the Lycats estate is still the owner. This is for a new house construction. The house and the sewer system are outside of the 100-foot buffer, but there will be some work, some grading work that will be done within the buffer zone of the wetland. There was some.
Copy of the plan?
It's not in there.
So it's primarily the rear yard of the house that's going to be in the buffer zone. Right now, there was some fill that was placed there decades ago by a former owner, and they're going to clean up some of the stumps, and there's one washing machine I think that's there that's going to be removed during the work, and it's going to be the irregular bank is going to be smoothed and regraded, and it'll be part of the lot, the house lot yard.
Okay. Are there any abutters? To
Yes, there is. Okay.
Mason Road's here.
Hi, I'm Diane Sabrett, 91 Mason Road, and we've been here for about 38 years. And there's definitely water issues down Mason Road. Now, this is off a right-of-way, so there is just a one-car right-of-way, and this is going to be off of that. And anything that's filled, the school is right behind us, the middle school is behind us. When they fill that wetlands in, we spent about 3 or 4 years with our backyards underwater until that dissipated. Now there are 4 lots that they're looking to sell back there. If they're going to fill in enough of that wetlands, we're all going to be underwater for a long time. There's just nowhere for this water to go. If you're going to fill in that enough so that you can actually build something, it's going to be very, very wet through there. Now, we have a pond also that's at the second part of we're in a butter to this right-of-way. And there's a pond there. Now, that'll be
So,
impacted if you fill.
on this picture here, you're to the south of this?
We're to the closest to the school.
Yeah, south and east, yes.
Yeah, we're closest to Shepherd Hill, on the left-hand side. And there's a small pond there that has frogs, turtles, salamanders. It's ferns around it. It's definitely wildlife in that area. And there's a lot of wetlands back there.
The right-of-way she's referring to is locally known as Virginia's Way.
No, never heard of that.
Okay, well,
They just made it up.
They may, well,
I don't know when, but it's not a road or a proposed road. There's only room for 1 car.
Yeah.
Barely enough room for a truck to go down this right-of-way. And this that they're proposing is off of the right-of-way, which is not a road or anything.
Well, Ms. Surratt, that's
Yes.
not our issue.
Right.
Our issue is,
Emergency vehicle down there.
Yeah.
That
Right,
doesn't
that
come
has
under
nothing
this
to do
board.
with that. Right.
Regardless of what it's called.
Right.
The right-of-way runs down the top of the ridge. Their land is on the southeast side of the ridge.
Yep.
With the water flowing away from the road. We're on the northerly westerly side of the ridge in a different valley. And the wetland that's in back of this flows directly onto the school's property and not onto their property. I didn't trace where the wetland goes once it goes onto the school property, if it wraps around the school and gets back to theirs, but this would be a different wetland than what her pond would be on. Because the road itself is on a ridge and we're flowing westerly and they're to the east side of the ridge.
Now, there's no other egress on the other side. This plot of land that you're talking about is just there. There's no other road beyond that right-of-way.
No.
Because if you're going to fill it in, I mean, water doesn't go by a certain path, is
can't-
what I'm saying.
you
It's
can't-
just gonna, it's dissipating, it's gonna spread.
They
And-
can't fill wetlands in.
Well,
it
that's
just
what I'm
can't happen.
thinking. I mean, it is, I don't understand.
The house location is about 15 vertical feet above the wetland. And we're not really filling in, we're just regrading the yard itself. We're doing a little bit of filling in for the septic system, but we're not filling in the wetland. We're really not even filling in the buffer zone. We're just regrading the slope of, on the wetland side. So we're not touching the wetland at all.
These plans you can explain to the lady you pointed out.
I have a question.
do you have a
Is this
plan that
one
you can
considered wetland?
explain what's going on? So she's on the same page?
Yeah, that may clarify a couple of things.
Mr. Surratt, you go up and look at the plan and let them explain to you. And you could,
Yeah, well, he's saying that it's not wetlands.
Oh, okay, the wetlands
Yeah.
are, this is the road coming in here, the right of
My
way.
question is, the property that I own now, all along that right of way, never perked. They wanted to build another house there, it never perked. It was wet all the way down. So now, they sold it because they couldn't build. I know, I bought part of it. Now, we're in another area that's wetland. Well, I'm sorry, no, it's not wetland. But, did that perk? Can you build something there?
Yeah,
Yes, we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, wait a minute. And if you can, how you gonna do it? You're gonna fill it in, and you're gonna build a house in mud. I'm just asking. I don't know. Does that work?
Yes, we did get a successful perk test this year. The right-of-way is here. We're 175 feet off of the right-of-way in the back, so we're basically 200 feet from your property on the other side of the hill. And we are on a hill, and the wetland is even off the backside of our property on the adjoining land, and that flows southward
Everything's,
onto the school's property. So your land is
everything's
over
flowing
here,
that way.
and your pond is down here,
Yeah.
and we're on the other side of the hill. We're not any place near your pond.
Where's this pond?
Okay.
And the grade, and the ground.
Pond, she's
from the
saying is
road,
over
the
here.
ground flows away from
This is
your,
the right of way. They live on this side of the right of way.
from your land.
This is heading towards Nellie
If you look
Austin.
at the topos, everything's going away.
And there's a house here?
Right. Right.
This is way down there.
In the back.
It says house right
Yeah.
there.
This is right on the back corner.
Yeah, go ahead.
On that side.
My only question is, instead of looking at a piece of paper, did anybody here go down and take a look at the lot?
There's nothing here, right?
According to our wetland consultant, yes, he did.
This is over here.
He says the notice of intent plans appear to comply with the regulations of the local bylaw. One single-family house is exempt from requirements of meeting the stormwater regulations, and he recommends a standard order of conditions, so he has looked at the lot.
You have looked at it?
Yes.
Okay. Would this piece of property be landlocked?
That would have nothing to do
You
with
get in or
us.
get out?
That wouldn't have anything to do with us.
This board.
Has nothing to do with that.
The only thing we have to look at is wetlands issues. If it was landlocked, that would be zoning, planning board. If it was perk, that would be Board of Health. If you're contesting a perk,
Oh, okay.
you can
I
go
didn't
to,
know that.
you can go to the Board of
I
Health.
thought that had to do with you folks.
No.
Perking.
The person that went down and looked at it is our consultant engineer. He's an environmental engineer. The person that looked at it, it's
Right.
not one of us.
So,
It's-
you know, you saw no harm to the environment down there.
He,
Because I'll tell you, the pond behind my house, the state came down and declared it, you can't build around anywhere near it. Because there were spotted salamanders there, there were all kinds of things there. So I don't know
That pond,
what you would consider to be,
But that,
the pond is on the other side of right of way.
huh?
The
Right.
pond is on the opposite side of the right of way from
I
where this is
understand
happening.
that, but it doesn't take the water away. Okay. They built the school on a wetland, but that's okay.
Well, this isn't the school, and there's no other lots here. I heard somebody say there's gonna be 4 lots. I don't know where they are, but they're not here. There's only one lot here, one.
But you're setting a precedent. Okay? If you let that go, you gotta let everything else go. That's all I'm saying. You do what you gotta do, I guess.
But it doesn't-
Who's Virginia's way?
It doesn't sound like they're filling in. They're just going to regrade
They're gonna
the
fill in?
area behind the
No,
house.
they're not.
no filling
He
in.
didn't say
okay.
filling in,
They
he
don't
said
need to fill in.
regrading there, gonna get rid of stumps and a washing machine that's there and the garbage that's back there and grade the land. Because it's fairly steep. They're gonna grade, not gonna fill it in, they're just gonna regrade it. That's what he said, right?
16-foot slope here.
So he's not filling in any wetlands.
Where the wetland is, 100 feet from the buffer zone.
He's in the buffer zone. That regrading will be, I mean, there's, the buffer zone from the wetland is 100 feet, and he's going to be doing that regrading in the buffer zone.
I'm mostly concerned with the traffic that's gonna go in and out of there
Doesn't
on.
matter, Ken. You know.
It does matter.
No.
If they have the right of way, you can't control.
It's a right of way.
It's a right of way.
You fit one vehicle, not 2, 1.
But
Hopefully, you don't need an emergency vehicle trying to get down there, that's all.
That has to do with another department
Right,
in
that's not
That-
in the
that-
town.
Our main concern is what's gonna happen to the wetlands.
Huh?
Right.
Our concern is what goes on with the wetlands, and that's all we did, that's our jurisdiction, and nothing but that. The roadway, that's,
If they were gonna do work to the
Highway
work,
commissioners
if
or
they were
whoever.
doing work to Virginia's Way, or whatever you wanna
Right.
call that road,
Yeah.
then,
So you
then,
still got a perk yet, right?
excuse me?
Oh, you don't do that?
We don't do that.
according to the engine,
So you gotta go.
Yes.
you
Harry, he's already had the perk.
The perk test has been, done, it's been filed with the Board of Health, and I'm not 100% sure if it's been approved or not. He was reviewing it when this
Oh,
meeting
I'm
started.
curious. I'd like to know what's going on.
Yeah, when you're building a new house, you have to go to a lot of different boards. So when you're building a new house, you have to go to a lot of different boards for everything.
Are there any more questions? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll close the meeting at 7 minutes of 7.
6:53.
That too.
That too. I'd like to make a motion that we grant a standard order of conditions to 95C Mason Road for the site prep for a single-family dwelling.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. You would be, I just introduced myself.
Okay, next on the agenda is 8 Mill Street, Stevens Mill LLC, request for a determination of applicability for test pits and soil borings.
Good evening. For the record, my name is John Rhodes, and I work for Professional Services Corp. for a civil engineering design firm. And what I'd first like to do is give you some paperwork. You have some return receipts and a tear sheet. Mr. Carroll. Yes. Thank you. I have got a plan that's colored up. If you want me to set up the easel and just go through it with you.
Yeah.
The most positive part of any presentation is setting up the easel. Is this in a good position so you can all see it? Or do you have cable TV and you would prefer I get it in some other position?
Do you prefer it over on the other side, Fred? Oh.
You gotta put the chart on there and
Yeah, we'll put this on.
That works for me.
Okay. There's two plans that we submitted with the request for determination of applicability. And this is the plan that shows where the work will actually take place. There was another plan that was done by your survey going back to 2006. We're having that survey updated and new wetlands delineated by Ecotech. I don't know if you're familiar with John Rockwood, but John is the person that I prefer to
John,
use on my project.
Could you grab that microphone, please? There you go.
So this is one of two plans that was submitted with the request for determination of applicability, and it's an existing condition plan from 2006 done by O'Donnell Survey with test pits and boring locations shown. We're having the survey updated for today's conditions because some things may have changed. And we're also having the wetlands redelineated by Ecotech out of Worcester, and John Rockwood will be the wetland scientist that will do that work. He has already redelineated the site, and Glenn O'Donnell has been out to the site, but I don't have the updated plan. Just to get you orientated, this is Mill Street. in this direction, Adlock Place, West Main Street, and the French River. Color-coded in the orange, and it's an irregular shape, is the primary lot owned by Stephen Mills LLC, upon which the old mill structure is located. And that's in the heavy brown line, lightly crosshatched, so that's the existing building. We are going to be involved at PSC in doing the civil site work, and in order to do the stormwater, we need to know what the soil types are and where the groundwater table is. Always a challenge in New England, as we all know. So there's 7 test pits with the SW delineation or notation that I would like to have excavated in order to get groundwater, and able to have groundwater contours, and in order to know whether I'm going to hit ledge or have good soils or know what I'm dealing with so I can do a proper stormwater design. In addition, the structural engineer is interested in having some test pits done around the building in order to determine what the footings and foundation conditions are. These are structures that may have gone back to the 1860s. And in order to do a proper foundation design and to know whether there's other structural modifications that have to be done, you start with the foundation first and then work up. In addition, in order to do a proper foundation design, they're interested in putting in 6 boring holes, which would be done by a rig, where they would actually bore down 15, 20 feet or whatever they feel they have to, or to refusal, and take blow counts in order to know how stiff the soil is and what its capability is to do structural support. So many of these test pits or borings will fall within the riverfront, which is this heavy blue line, which was drawn in 200 feet off the raceway, and in this case, 200 feet off the river. There is a BVW not on our property over here. I've color-coded that in green, and this is a 100-foot buffer for that. This is 100 feet off of the head wall for the raceway. So there's a couple of holes that will be within 100 feet of the end of the raceway. The raceway is, when it's beneath the structure, is cross-hatched in blue, and then open, and then it's in a structured condition just before it discharges into the open raceway and then flows into the river. So we have noted for you that testing is allowed under the Wetland Protection Act within the buffer zone, and it's also allowed within the riverfront because it's grandfathered in this particular case. In most instances, in all honesty, what I would have done in order to do test pits is I would have contacted your agent, spoke to your agent, and give the agent a plan, let him know if he wanted me to come in and see you. But there's one overriding factor that made me want to make a formal presentation, and that is that an area approximately like, as I've just drawn with my pencil, is within a rare habitat as determined by Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. We think it is a mussel, but we have not confirmed that with Natural Heritage. Our wetland scientist has submitted a request to find out what the species is, and Heritage has 30 days to answer, and the 30 days will be up in about 10 days, and then we'll know. But we're assuming that it's a mussel that makes sense the way it was delineated. You people may know from previous filings that it is a mussel. Heritage, for good reason, doesn't let all of this information out unless it's somebody professional and when somebody needs to know, and that's fine. We're fine with that. So because we will need to talk to Heritage, and we believe under MESA, and that's the Massachusetts Environmental Endangered Species Act, that we're permitted to do testing also, we wanted to file with the commission in order to get a clean, so to speak, a clean bill of health with the RDA, and then be able to forward all the information that was forwarded to you, plus the results of the RDA from this commission, and have Dr. Rockwood approach the people at Heritage and talk about what they may want us to do with some of these holes. So I'm hopeful that the commission will think like we've thought through this process. And when I say we, that's John Rockman and myself, that we wanted to file the RDA first, come to this commission. We wanted you to know that things are getting started again on the mill site, and that it's our intent to make contact with Heritage very shortly in order to determine what the species is. And if Heritage says, we want you to move this hole or move one of these borings, fine, we can do that. I've just tried to scatter the drainage holes just to get an overview of the site. The holes for the structural engineer were right against the building, and they're the furthest away from resource areas. So with that, I'd be happy to open it up for any questions you may have as commissioners, and hopefully I can give you the answers.
Any questions from board members? Any abutters? Seeing none?
Yes, that is only good.
Issued a negative determination.
Yep. Our wetland consultant, Matt, recommendation is issuance of a negative determination of applicability. Well, see, I'm gonna, any questions from the board?
No.
All right, I'm gonna close the meeting at 7:04.
Second motion, we issue a negative determination of applicability for 8 Mill Street, Stevens Mills LLC.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I thank you.
Thank you.
As we go through the process, I'll begin to see you from time to time to let you know how it's going. And what we will do is we will give Carol a call and let her know when the soil
Drive by
testing
and see
program
it.
starts. But we initially have to go to Natural Heritage to clear things with them before that.
Are they thinking about firing up the rework on that, on the Stevens Linden? Is that what this is all about?
This would be a historic restoration, and it would be primarily residential. It's a beautiful structure. I've been through it, and the architecture is just absolutely outstanding. And it is on the national. It's on the national register. So the rehabilitation. See how I have my hands behind my back? That's how the rehabilitation has to go. There has to be preservation of the historic, much of the historic setting that it has. So it has a long way to go, but I have the easy job. Stormwater is stormwater, and once I have the soil information, I can go at it. And I'm of the opinion that most of the site that we're going to be working on has either been disturbed or was part of the historic mill complex. Though from talking to the historical consultant, she has told me there are no Sanborn maps, which are insurance maps from the early 30s for this particular mill. We'll get the data. Examine it. I appreciate your efforts, and I wish you all a good evening.
Thank you.
You too. Next on the agenda is Oakwood Estates request for a certificate of compliance.
Based upon our consultant's recommendation that the area has grown in well and looks excellent, I make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for Oakview Estates.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next on the agenda is 2 West Main Street. Request for a certificate of compliance for invalid order of conditions, work never commenced. Matt's recommendation is the certificate will render the unexecuted order of conditions moot. I recommend the commission issue a certificate of compliance.
I make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for 2 West Main Street for the invalid order of conditions.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
It's not true, I was present.
Next thing on the agenda is the draft minute meetings of October 29th.
I had to
Yep.
vote as...
You didn't recuse, right? No.
No, I just promised that I wouldn't.
You want to move to accept them as corrected?
Right. I'd like to make a correction. For number 3, 7 Cottage Road, I wasn't a butter. I am at a butter. I was present. But because we without my vote, we didn't have a quorum, I had to do whatever that was that Dickie made me say I had to do.
She had no problems with the...
I had no issues with the clock.
Yep.
But so with that correction, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented for October 29th. Everything else looks good.
Okay, a motion's been made.
Second it.
And seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. One extension. One extension. Sure. Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
At 7:10.
At 7:10, motion carries.